What? Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here, and it's time for another edition of the Orns 10-minute take on Watford 2, Oxford 1. And Watford now have completed a week unbeaten. 3 games unbeaten, 7 points out of a possible nine in those 3 games, and two successive home wins at the Vic. Isn't that lovely? What a way to go into this second international break. And for those Watford supporters who have been calling for Pezzo's head ever since he really got here, you surely got to look now at the fact that now Watford have gone 3 unbeaten in 2 different spells, sandwiching 2 dreadful performances at home against Blackburn and at Millwall. 1 goal to no defeats. Watford have performed, I think, in this game today very well. And even in the first half, where they didn't start off necessarily at the best, they were much more energetic, much more lively. They moved the ball quicker and created a lot more opportunities, even though they didn't convert for much of that first half until, of course, the very end of the first half. Watford were good today, were quite good today, were impressive today. A total of 27 shots in this match, 10 of those on target. That is an attack-minded lineup, a lineup with a mission and a purpose to do very well for this manager, who actually, it seems clear now that they actually do like playing for. It's some of the fan base that have objections, and some of those objections are really rooted in some things that are troubling at times, like leaving Quadro Bar on the bench until the 87th minute today, and previously at Portsmouth earlier in the week in the 85th minute. Those things are troubling, among others. 4 changes made today, 3 changes or so made in the previous game, and several changes made in the game last week against Hull, and so on and so forth. Substitution patterns, subbing off Iran Kunda in the 35th minute against Portsmouth. It turned out to work. All of those things are concerns, and all those things, such as the identity of the play, of the football, formations, etc., personnel, definitely are reasons to be worried about where this manager's going. But one thing he has instilled is character, and character wins your football matches, especially in the championship where your style of play might not be good, where your identity isn't yet firmly set in stone. Character breeds victories. Character means a lot. Character gets you over the line in the championship a lot of times. The football doesn't have to be pretty in the championship, but the results are the key, as they are in football anywhere you play. And character is a key ingredient in all of that as well. Character is something that does get you over the line, that gets you wins. It's been true these last several games, especially these last 2 home matches. It's been true of the game against Portsmouth, even though it wasn't a win. It got us the lead against Portsmouth before some poor defending let us down. And again today, poor defending was the thing that hurt us early on, although really, Max Alain's own goal in the 3rd minute of this contest, again another early goal conceded, and for the 6th consecutive game we've trailed 1-0, was actually something that was unlucky. He had the right instincts to clear it as a defender. You are told from a set piece to either head the ball, get your foot to the ball, clear it into the stands if you can. And Alain was trying to do that. Unfortunately, the ball sliced into the back of his own net. Yeah, it's a bad mistake, it's horrible luck. But the bottom line is he had the right instincts as a defender to get the ball away from danger. That was his intent. He was trying to do that. So even in that own goal that was conceded, it still was the right instincts, obviously the wrong result from those instincts. So I don't even fault Alain that much from that standpoint. But the bottom line is that after that, for the next 94 minutes or so, Watford kept a clean sheet. That's the longest this season that they've kept a clean sheet for, because they've not had any results this season where they've had a clean sheet in the match. But they've kept a clean sheet for the longest amount of time during a game this season, 94 minutes or thereabouts after the early 3rd minute goal. And Oxford did have some threats in that first half. They looked much more dangerous on the attack going forward than we did in those counter-attacking forays that they had. But it was Watford who piled on pressure throughout the first half, and deservedly Jeremy Ngakia, who was obviously the Orns Watford FC man of the match today, got 2 goals in the space of 4 injury time first half minutes He scored right at 45-minute mark with his goal bundled in across the line at the far post to make it a 1-1 scoreline. And then within 3.5 minutes, he would add his second of the day, Jeremy Ngake, who scored only one goal in his career. That came at Watford, has now doubled his output for his entire career in a space of 4 minutes. And that second goal came off his own corner. Spectacular corner. There was a goal that came off a corner. Remember in the game last season, I think it was Kayembe in the first game of the season at Millwall. Remember that last season when he scored from a corner? I believe it was Kayembe who did that. I think there's been a couple of players or a couple of times this of last season when a Watford player scored from a corner kick. Today in this new season, it was Ngakia's turn to do the same. And wow, sensational scenes at the Vic in that moment as Watford turned it all around. And character once again was the big reason why they showed character today to get the two goals after being down very, very early. They showed character, I should say, again, and they showed character back on Wednesday night at Portsmouth when they were down early after just the fifth minute of the game and then scored two goals to take the lead before ultimately conceding to make it 2-2. And they showed character, of course, a week ago today at the Vic against Hull City, coming from behind in that game as well. And so Watford now scored two goals in each of these last three games, and today it was a team effort. Obviously, Ngakia was the standout today, but there was great play from Luca after Vivaldo Semedo had to be withdrawn due to injury coming off the pitch. Now we hope that Semedo will be okay. Luca, who hadn't been playing in a number of these games lately, showed a lot of sharpness, quickness, looked hungry out there, made things happen. Vata started from the beginning, was sensational at times. Some Watford supporters felt that he tried too hard to impress, but I thought that he played within himself and within the flow of the game and was very effective going forward on that channel. Has a real burst of speed and pace on him that I didn't see a lot of last season. I thought this season, I think last season is a bit more isolated, a bit more stationary. But this season, under a new head coach, he's been given a lot more freedom to roam and to really use his pace and use his assets to move the ball quickly, which we saw a lot more today from our lads, moving the ball very quickly, especially in the second half, even faster at times. Good one-touch passing. Well, Loser was effective again. His bid to make it three consecutive games with a goal was ended today. He did not score, but he had to come off with what looked like some kind of injury in his leg. He felt his leg part of the time during the second half, and I had said to people on social media to keep an eye on him. And sure enough, within about 5 minutes of me saying that, he ended up coming off the pitch. A triple change was made, a very important one in the 70th minute, which accounted for Watford holding firm in the midst of sustained Oxford pressure for about 15 minutes of that second half. Agil Selvik didn't have much to do in this game, but he was forced into duty during that spell of the game and also later in the game when Oxford should have equalised. Paqueta, who was a pain in the neck all day long when he came on the pitch for Oxford, should have scored. I don't know how he didn't. He managed to put the ball wide when there was a goal right in front of him, and I think Selvik putting himself out, making himself big, really helped with that, but Paqueta should have equalised for Oxford, and Oxford fans will travel back thinking about that moment. That was their big moment of the game, and they didn't really come close after that. Silvett made a big point-blank range save, and there was a clearance off the line from a Banquer. The defending was good today, despite the early concession. You had three players in that back three who did their jobs well. A Banquer, also, Elaine grew into the game after his mishap, and obviously you had Kevin in the middle, back in the lineup after missing the previous game. Pollock didn't play, stayed on the bench, which will surprise some. But again, it's in keeping with what the manager's talking about in terms of keeping players fresh and keeping them ready. But I say that, listen, you should be playing these players and having a consistent lineup. But obviously, this manager believes in tinkering and changing a lot. I'm concerned still about the way that disrupts potentially the chemistry, but you're seeing there's clear chemistry and continuity because they've now gone unbeaten again for three straight. And so that is the perfect tonic to go into this international break with a much needed win to back up what they did against Portsmouth, to back up what they did last week at the Vic against Hull. And it shows that this team are moving in the right direction. And while some may complain about a lack of identity, what I really am very pleased with and what I think is very important even more so than the identity on the pitch, is character. Character, as I said earlier, is the thing that gets you wins in a lot of these games. Sometimes you can have all the tactics you want, all the formation identity on the pitch that you want. But if you don't have character, you are in trouble in these games, especially in this league, because you have to throw all those things out the window when you go down 1-0 in a game. And it's character at that moment that helps bring you through. And a change of that tactic, and a change of that formation, and a change of your identity. So if you don't have the character to turn things around in a game, you're not going to get a win out the game. And so even in these games where we've not seen a real hardcore identity, we still have some idea of what they're doing. Advanced position for loser. Mendy is a key holding player. We're seeing some of that going on, moving the ball faster, moving the ball quickly, taking shots on goals, creating goal chances. We've seen that the last 2 or 3 games, especially today. 27 shots, 10 of them on target, right? But the thing is that character has really got Watford unbeaten this 3 game run now. Character to come from behind, to come from behind at Portsmouth as well, and character today to come from behind and get the win. So that is a really important variable, and I hope that a lot more of the Watford fan base, those who are calling for this manager to go, I hope they pay a bit more attention to the character aspect, because now that's worked for them in 4 or 5 games of the nine, just nine, that they've played so far this season in the Championship. It worked at Swansea, even though they had the lead. They did not buckle in that game after they conceded late, where they would have under previous managers. In the game against Southampton, coming from behind twice in the game, that's character. We saw what happened last weekend at the Vic against Hull, coming from behind and winning the game. We saw what happened against Portsmouth, coming from behind, taking the lead, getting a point. And we saw what happened today, coming from behind and winning the game. So character is a major factor in these games, even if there isn't an identity on the pitch for many fans. And you've got to take that for what it is, because you have to assume that this manager is going to build those other variables up and become more pronounced. And for me, look, you can't fault the manager for what he's doing right now. It might be bizarre, it might be a little bit weird, there might be some strangeness to it. I think there is a method to the madness ultimately, and as I've disagreed with this manager in terms of some of his approaches, the bottom line is he's getting results right now. And I don't think that we should be complaining about that, at least. So for me, Watford did their job today. Mark Bowler, I'd love to see him at some point. I would love to see Bar come on the pitch earlier. But the bottom line is that right now, whatever is working, whatever he's doing is working. It is working. The tweaks he made last weekend against Hull in the second half that got us the win there. The tweaks he made, obviously, before the half time against Portsmouth got a draw there. And today, once again, tweaks that he made, adjustments, bingo. A 2-1 come from behind victory. Again, character, Jeremy Ngaka, Watford FC. The bottom line is that we go into an international break now with, what is it, 12 points, 3 wins, 3 draws, 3 defeats. Top half of the table, who's looking? I don't really start to look at the table until after the 10th game. Well, I sneak to look at it now after the ninth game, and they are in the top 10, Watford. They're 10th at the minute, going into the international break from where they started. It's not how you start these matches, and it's not how you start the season. Generally speaking, we'd all love 8 out of 9 wins to start a season. It's not how you start the season in football, it's how you finish it. And ideally, we want to win every game. It's not how you start these games, even sometimes, it's how you finish them. 3 minutes in, down 1-0. And by half time, up 2-1. We don't want to have to keep doing that. But the bottom line is that the results are coming. 3 unbeaten in 1 week. 7 points out of a possible 9 in 1 week. You got to give him credit when he gets it right and when the results are coming his way. We've lost 3 games this season, all by the same 1-0 score. We weren't battered in any of these games. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Enjoy your international break. This has been the Yorns 10-minute take.